try and suit your profile. I mean, you're not going to do a program on how to retire and how to write a will, very likely, which you will require for older flow members. So please keep this in mind that there's no conflict, but I'll tell you one small example where sometimes you have to distinguish between memberships. There was a program on investments in Bombay, in Mumbai chapter. Now some of us are pretty savvy about investments, some of us are young, we are just starting out. So if you have a program of, they had a program of YFlow, which they invited Flow members came and totally dominated the whole thing because they were conversant with the concepts, all the, about stock market and arbitrage, whatever, arbitrage, this, that, liquid funds, which left all the younger women who wanted a very preliminary, very, introductory sort of a program, high and dry, and the other thing, because the gentleman who was giving this presentation was a very senior person. He didn't want to talk about the introductions. When he got audience which was talking about more senior things and more this thing, he went in that direction. There was a lot of anger and some bad blood. So the focus has to be who you are inviting is a function of what kind of content of the program you are going to take. If somebody wants to come from Flow, let them come, because there are some things that they don't know about. So that's that. There's no conflict.
And taking it in exactly the reverse and a simpler format of what Kiran said, there was once a program on cocktail mixing. Yeah. It was for the younger lot. So I was asked that do we call the older Flow members? I said don't even bother, because firstly a lot of them don't drink, and secondly you want the demographic to be 35-year-olds. So it was fine. So there is a give and take relationship. We're all the same organization. Yeah. And if somebody really wants to come, then they're welcome,
and honestly, if you have a good communication between the YFlow chair and the Flow chairperson in the chapter, it's not difficult at all.
All right, any other questions? All right, so then thank you, Vasvi, so very, very
much.
Thank you. A nice round of applause for her. Session is on branding and communication. This is going to be done by Kiran Gera, who's a past president of Flow, and she's also the founding chairperson of Flow Mumbai chapter. I mean, this is her introduction. Now, the reason why this is really important, there are a variety of visiting cards that you all make for yourselves. People put all sorts of designations. The logo is sort of hampered with sometimes. You don't realize, you think, maybe this will look a little better in another color. And then FICCI comes down on us really heavily saying that, we paid a fortune, we had this design, and you fiddled about with the colors. So however much you may not like the colors, the branding, you can't sort of fiddle with it. So that is just one aspect of what Kiran is going to talk about. I think she's basically going to show us all sort of communications and all the mistakes we've made over the year. Nothing is personal, it's all a learning exercise. And Kiran, may I now invite you to come and make your fabulous presentation on branding and communication.
Did anyone attend this program last year? So if you get a slightly, it's going to be not entirely repetitive, but please bear with me. Their branding and its norms and the way it functions don't really change overnight, but there are some interesting case studies that I've come up with. Now, the interesting thing is, what is branding? And what is the etymology of branding? How did it start at all? Yeah? Branding is a word which started with, there was a word called brander, which meant burning. And the first case of branding, how it started was that there was cattle, and it started in the US. It was cattle, and then it would get mixed up. So various owners started branding their cattle by burning an insignia on their skin. Now when they started, it started distinguishing, the different kind of cattle started getting distinguished, and they took it further, and they took it further because the cattle was cattle, and then there were products from that cattle. And those products then started getting branded in their own right. This is a brief history of branding as to how it really started in the days past. But I came across something very, very interesting when I was doing a little research on branding in India. And this is something that I would like to throw this to the audience, which is the oldest brand in India. What do you think? There is a brand I mean, it came as a surprise to me. Chances are very high that you may not get it, but it'll come as an interesting surprise to you as to how old it is and what it is. Would you, anyone like to, it's an Indian, only Indian brand, it's not a global brand. What do you think it could be? Would you like to take a shot? 555? No. I don't even know what is 555 myself. Just one other answer, yes? No? Spoken like a true wife, Tata, no. Now let me give you an answer because Vinita will ring the bell on my time. So let me tell you what it is. It is a brand that has been in existence, or a concept or a product that has been in existence 1100 years BC in the Vedic era, and it is still here. Chawanprash. That's the product. And it is the oldest, and it hasn't changed. It was called Chawanprash then. It was created apparently by a rishi who was called Prash Rishi, but it's Chawanprash. So from 1100 BC to now, I don't know how effective it is today or how it has changed, but that brand has still continued. So we in India probably hold the most valued, the most ancient brand is from our country. I think it's an amazing insight, isn't it? Now, I've told you about branding, the history of branding. Why is branding important? Why do you want to brand? What's special? Would anybody like to answer that? One. To differentiate. I mean, you are differentiating yourself from the others. You are also making a promise that I am giving you this. Now, it's actually, when I read up on branding, and this is a bad analogy, but it's a bit like, I mean, there are so many different facets and aspects to it, that some things are right, some things have worked, some things have not worked. There is no pattern anymore as to what branding is, and if I could give you a small lecture on this is right, this is wrong, this is the right way to do it, it is no longer valid. But let me give you a few examples as to why branding is important, because it gets you people that you want to connect with, your client team, the people that you want as members. So while I'm talking, can you hear me? So while I'm talking about branding, generally in the beginning, I will then shift my focus very quickly to how to brand a chamber and what specifically in branding a chamber applies to something like flow. So in branding, when we talk about branding, the brand distinguishes itself, it calls out to you, it tells you this is the promise. It's giving you a promise, it's telling you, come to me, or I have this to offer you, and these are my promises, and that perception has to be handled. It's a lot about perception management. And there are various tools for branding, but let me give you some interesting examples. One of the ways in which you create brand identity is a logo, of course. Now the logo, how it should be, what it should be, we'll talk about, but can you think of a great logo and you may not know what it stands for? It's very contemporary, very Indian. It's a bank. ICICI, really long name. Is there anyone here except Ranjana Agarwal who can tell us what it stands for? You know? I'm going to hit you when we go back to Bombay. No, what I'm trying to tell you is that in this audience, which is full of businesswomen, most of us don't know what ICICI opens out to, but we know what ICICI stands for. So the logo itself has become so powerful, it doesn't need anything else. Correct? And there is a lot, State Bank of India, Punjab National Bank, Life Insurance Corporation, there are lots of them, but I picked this one out because it's so long and convoluted, and yet, you know, and not many people who are contemporary, who are all of you are from capitals, you don't know what it stands for. It's not a crime, I think I barely know it myself. So Cheta, you have to tell me what it stands for. So that's the part of logo. Then you can, in branding, you can have a visual. You can have a visual. I want to ask you again about one of the most powerful visuals. It's just a visual. There is no word, there's nothing. I mean, the name is there, but the visual is that what comes to your mind for a very, very well-known global brand. Any answers? Apple. Apple. So do you realize that the way contemporary branding is happening, Apple, Google, You know, I mean, they're making things a little irreverent. They're not taking themselves so seriously anymore, and therefore recall value is much easier. But so you can have a logo, you can have a visual, you can also have a kind of a lifestyle statement, which is incorporated in a logo. Give me an example in India. Okay, I'll give it to you. Raymond, the complete man. Now, it's not about looking spiffy, going to work, being a corporate guy. They've switched it around to say, you're in this car. Have you seen the latest Raymond ad? Anyone? There's a group of small children who are sitting there who want a car washing. They've got their little sponges and buckets and soap and all. No customers. And there's this guy who's, I think, in an Audi. And he drives past, he sees these children, he goes somewhere, he comes back, his car is coated with mud, and the children's faces light up and they start washing his car. So it's a complete man doing something which is more than dressing well and being corporate or being a leader, whatever. That's a certain kind of lifestyle statement. Opposite to this, there's a younger logo, which is Nike. It's just a tick and says, just do it. So it's a very young, very contemporary sort of logo, which is telling you do what you want. Right? It's not talking about sports. Please make that mind so that making it a little bigger. So I'm just trying to give you examples of why logos are important. Some of my presentation has been usurped by the president to be, so I'm going to run through that very quickly. But I hope I'm able to create this understanding and excitement about what branding is all about. Tell me, a brand that was very big did not, it died. In fact, it died a very brutal death because it did not change with time. Sibaka तो बहुत ऐतिहासिक है, वो तो मेरे से भी पहले का है. My mother would have answered that question. What? Which one? Okay, let me not ask you because we are not conducting a class. Let me give you, it's interesting because why, where it was and what happened. It's BlackBerry. It's BlackBerry. Can someone tell me why BlackBerry, what's happened to BlackBerry, you think? Where is it today? Till 2013, it was one of the coolest telephone to have in your hand. But you know why it died? Because when iPhone came in and other brands came in, the touch screen came in.